All right, so if you're a parent, this is a question you probably asked yourself, well, 1,000 times. Today, we're breaking down what growth and development monitoring is all about, using some great source material to get clear and hopefully reassuring answers.
Watching your kid grow is it's amazing, right? But let's be honest, it also comes with a little bit of worry and one big recurring question.
Yep, there it is. That's the one. It's the question behind every late-night Google search. It is completely normal to ask, and today, we're going to get some clear answers.
Okay, so when you go in for those checkups, what are pediatricians actually looking for? It's a way more thoughtful and holistic process than you might think.
Right, the most important word here is regular. This isn't about judging one single snapshot in time. Think of it like this. It's about watching the whole movie of your child's progress, frame by frame, just to see how their unique story unfolds.
And this is so important because it really breaks down what development means. It is so much more than just height and weight. We're talking about a whole picture here. Motor skills like crawling, how they communicate, how they solve little problems, and even how they connect with the world emotionally.
Okay, so we know what's being monitored, but why does it matter so much? Why is this regular tracking so important? Well, it all comes down to being proactive, and that has some major upsides.
I love this comparison. Think about it this way. A single photo of your child is it's lovely, right? But a whole photo album? That tells a story. Continuous tracking is that photo album. It lets pediatricians see the patterns, spot your child's unique strengths, and catch any subtle changes that a one-off visit could easily miss.
And this, right here, is the big takeaway. Monitoring isn't about hunting for problems. Not at all. It's about creating opportunities. Because when you catch something early, you can provide support right when it's going to be most effective. It's all about being proactive instead of reactive.
Okay, so this brings us to a really practical question. What are some of the things you can actually look for at home? And let me be super clear here. These are not red flags to panic over. Think of them as just invitations, little prompts to start a conversation with your pediatrician.
So, sign number 1 is all about physical growth. And again, this is not about one single measurement, it's all about the trend. Is your child following their own growth curve on the chart over time? It's that consistent lagging that might prompt a closer look.
All right, next up, those big physical wins, the stuff that makes it into the baby book. And look, every single child has their own unique schedule, their own timeline. But if you're noticing they're consistently missing major milestones, like sitting up, crawling, or walking, well after the typical range, it's definitely worth a chat.
And finally, let's not forget that development is about connection. This sign focuses on communication, things like delayed speech or social engagement. How a child interacts with you and the world around them is just as vital a piece of the puzzle as their physical growth. So, what does all this actually look like when you're in the pediatrician's office? I think it's easy for these visits to feel like a test, right? But they're really designed to be this supportive, collaborative process.
Yeah, a typical visit is really just a structured conversation. It usually flows from the basic stuff, like measurements, to some simple screenings. Sometimes it's just watching your kid play. But the most important part? There's always dedicated time for your questions, and you'll walk away with practical guidance and clear next steps. If there's one big theme that runs through this whole thing, it's partnership. This isn't something that just happens to you and your child. It's something you do with your pediatrician. You're a team. And this quote from the experts just says it all. Every child develops in their own way, but regular monitoring brings clarity and peace of mind. And really, that's the goal here, isn't it? It's not about comparing or judging. It's about celebrating your child's unique journey while making sure they have all the support they could possibly need.
Okay, before we wrap things up, let's just quickly tackle 2 of the most common questions that parents have. I bet you've thought about these.
This one. It's such a classic worry, right? You're at the playground, you look around, and you just can't help but compare. So what's the professional take on this?
And the answer, once again, comes back to that word, consistency. A huge range of sizes is totally normal. The focus isn't on comparing your child to other kids. It's all about whether your child is following their own unique growth curve over time.
Okay, here's another great one about individuality. One kid is walking at 10 months, another is walking at 15 months. How much variation is actually okay?
Yes, the answer is yes. Development varies. A lot. There is a very, very broad window for what's considered typical. The only time to really raise a question is if you start to notice some major, persistent delays in one of those key areas we talked about earlier.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here. So if you take away just one single idea from this whole explainer, what should it be?
It's this. Remember this. This whole process, it is not a test. It's not about passing or failing. It's a tool. It's a supportive partnership between you and your doctor. And it's all designed to give your child the absolute best foundation for a healthy, happy life. And honestly, when you look at it that way, it can turn all that parental anxiety into confident, collaborative action.